Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I am your host, Angela Duncan, speaker, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, and we are talking all things money and business. Today's episode is sponsored by freemoneytipsbook.com. You need help getting started on your financial journey, head over to freemoneytipsbook.com and download your free ebook to help you get started. Today's episode, I am interviewing Sarah Parker with Sage View Advisory, and she is telling us what mistakes to avoid when planning for a 401k with your company. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Empower Her Money.
Hi, Angela. Good morning.
It's so awesome to have you on today. I would love for you to kind of start out and tell us a little bit more about you and your journey and how you got to what you're doing today.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. So my journey, I am located in Northeast Ohio, right outside of Cleveland. And that's really where I was born and raised, in Warren, Ohio, and moved up to Cleveland to go to school. And ultimately, from there, I started my career as an analyst, which I think is a pretty common way to start in the finance field. But the finance field is, very defined. There's different defined roles. And I quickly learned that the route of a financial advisor has many different options. And so I gravitated towards institutional advisory. And so what that means is you're actually advising business owners on retirement plans. You're advising nonprofits on endowments and foundations. And you're advising really various other institutions on asset pools. So it's very different than kind of sitting one-on-one with an individual and talking about their financial plan. And so I ultimately became very passionate about this institutional world. Mostly in the investment space, but then I very much began to dive into the retirement plan space and helping businesses manage the benefits package that they want to offer to their employees in order to help maintain and attract talent, and became kind of an expert in that field of retirement plan advisory as well. And so over my career, I began to gain clients where I was working with them on these various asset pools, making not only investment recommendations, but holistically advising them on their benefits package, more specifically their retirement plans. And so over the course of my 18-year career, I've certainly become kind of an expert in that field in this area of Northeast Ohio, but then also really all over the nation. So I have clients all over the place. And through that investment world, I kind of developed a hobby, I guess you could say, of investing in businesses myself. And so kind of think of like a Shark Tank scenario. And so I gravitated towards women-owned businesses and wanting to invest in them in the startup phase. And so that's kind of become a hobby of mine on the side. And then on top of everything else, I have 2 young kids. And so I'm very familiar with that mom work-life balance. The mom guilt is a real thing, and I've experienced that most of my career, but my children are now in 2nd and 3rd grade.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I don't know how you find time for all of that. So first, I want to touch on, you mentioned something that caught my attention about the benefits package and attracting and keeping talent. So can you elaborate a little bit on that for a business owner? Because I can understand how some business owners might see that as an expense, something that they're paying for, but I like how you're approaching it. So how would you have that conversation with a business owner?
Right. Well, it is an expense. I'll say that, but there's different ways you can pay for an advisor who you want to kind of bring in on your retirement plan. So maybe let me take a step back. So kind of the most common thing for a business owner to hear about is I need to offer a 401k plan, right?
Mhm.
And so there's a lot, if you just Google offer a 401k plan, you get an array of different results, right? You can go direct to certain companies that you've probably heard of. You can start with an advisor and then they can advise you on where to establish that 401k plan. But you really can get lost in how you get started. And so starting with a dedicated retirement plan advisor is kind of the preference, and they can direct you into which platform you want to use. So where do you want to actually establish that 401k? Where's the money going to be custodied? So an upfront cost for an advisor, certainly for a startup, that is something to take into account. It's not as bad as you think. You know, I think a lot of advisors kind of recognize that these are startup businesses and the fees are not astronomical. But what is commonplace is to you can bill the advisory fee to participants in the plan.
Mhm.
And so that is still acceptable. What is not acceptable is to hide the fee inside the actual investment. And so over the past 10 years, there's been all of these laws passed, fiduciary laws. I don't know if you've heard of that, but ultimately it's aimed at creating more transparency in how financial advisors are compensated when they establish these retirement plans for you. So there still are some financial advisors out there that don't really necessarily have the expertise on establishing a retirement plan, and they still collect something called a 12B1 fee, which is just a fancy way of saying you're getting paid by the funds that you recommend. And that's not what you in the retirement space. You want to find an actual expert, someone. It's almost like going to, you know, if you're having chest pain, you don't go see your family doctor. Maybe you go see a cardiologist. It's a very similar concept in the financial advisory world. There's so many different flavors of us, but you definitely need to find that one that is retirement institutional focused. And you don't want to necessarily hire the same person that's advising you personally to start the 401k. And so you can also pay for a financial advisory fee, obviously, from company funds, which I know is tough initially. But there's many acceptable forms of how you want to cover that. But it is, I would say, 75% are still billing it to the actual participants. And they would see on their quarterly statement like a fee that comes out for financial advisory.
Gotcha. So yeah. So that's a good way to look at it. Okay. So then pivot over to your hobby, which I thought was very interesting. You call it a hobby. What made you decide to kind of add that to your plate already full, being a mom and a business, you know, everything else?
Yeah, well, I obviously, if any of your listeners or you yourself have kind of heard anything about the finance world, it is still very male dominated. I think maybe we're up to 30% females in the finance world. And so it is a small community. There's not many of us. And so we all tend to join together, network together, be each other's cheerleaders. And so through that kind of network, I learned of ways to give back to women in finance, and then also kind of women who maybe want to pivot and start their own business. And so it just became fun and a way for me to give back and still be around colleagues and friends in the industry because we have to stick together. And certainly, I think women sometimes, they just need someone to vent to. You know, you just kind of want to go in someone's office and just kind of tell them what's bothering you today. And because there's not many females, there's really, you know, there's not that many to pick from. And so we all recognize that and we all want to be there for one another.
Yeah, and I imagine with your experience in the finance world, bringing you on as a partner can be very beneficial. What do you find are like the most common mistakes that you see when you're partnering with someone where you're coming in to, you know, obviously add value, give expertise, give some advice for maybe some business owners that you see other business owners doing?
Yeah, I think maybe on the benefit side of things, on the benefits package, I think a lot of business owners make the mistake of not wanting to go with an advisor that specializes in retirement plans initially, right?
Mm.
They hear that they call their financial advisor and say, can you start me a 401k plan for my participants? And then they end up being with that individual for 20 years. And then the next thing they know, their 401k is $20-50 million, and they're still with the same individual that set it up.
Mm.
So the mistake I see is, and that individual might be charging wrong, collecting fees through the funds, and ultimately is not an expert in kind of that retirement plan knowledge base. And so the mistake I see is that you don't start from the beginning with the right people and the right team. I know it can be scary sometimes, wanting to interview someone you don't know, wanting to reach out to these dedicated institutional advisors, and maybe you're nervous it's going to be too expensive, but starting it right really sets you up for advice that you need to attract talent in the long term. For example, in the nonprofit space, there's something called a 403B. It's essentially a 401k. It's just different numbers in the nonprofit space. But there's many different additional plans that you can add to your benefits package. They don't cost a lot, that allow participants to essentially stash away additional money for retirement. And so having someone that knows that, can give you that advice, talk to you about ways you might want to help them increase their retirement savings. It's not necessarily all about investments. It's about kind of the holistic advisory that person can give. On the investor side of things, the mistake I see a lot is business owners maybe not exploring that world of private equity. I think equity can be a scary term, and it can also encompass a lot. I think in individual cities, there's a lot of startup business assistance in that private seed capital world. And so I see some business owners maybe just going to the bank and getting loans and not exploring what is available to them to kind of attract people like me into investing in their startup business. And so certainly I think exploring those opportunities and seeing if that might be a fit, in addition to just trying to take it all on your own, individuals can give you a lot of expertise through that route as well.
How are business owners finding you? Is there a platform? Is it referral? How do you find your business owners?
Yeah, so I partner with other organizations that then will kind of introduce me to investors. And so I previously was with a group called the Hustle Funds, where they do exactly what I'm kind of speaking about, where they kind of vet businesses that need some seed capital or initial capital or maybe even second round. And through my kind of partnering with them, they present those opportunities to me. And then locally in Cleveland, there's a group of women angel investors. And essentially there is an individual that kind of sources these businesses and brings them to the group. And so, I think there's a lot of different ways in which you can find these organizations, just kind of asking around, reaching out to kind of like your chamber of commerce even. They can point you in the right direction as far as who's providing some startup capital or businesses that are looking to get some additional capital. They can point you in the right direction. But there's a lot of different organizations and groups. You kind of just have to ask around a bit.
And what are some things when a business owner does come to you, or you identify a business owner, what are some of the things that you are looking at to help you decide if you're going to invest in that company?
Just if I think it's a product, would I use it? And then if it's a service, would I use it? And so a lot of it just kind of comes down to your own personal preferences and what you're passionate about and what you think is a good idea. So if it makes sense to me, absolutely. But certain things are not going to resonate with me. And so I certainly kind of stay away from that. I tend to gravitate towards anything related to children and kids. Any idea in the pet market is not something I gravitate towards. So, it's just all personal. And, if an investor kind of hits a chord with me on something that I like and think is a great idea, then that's a good match.
All right. And then, so being a mom on top of all of that, how do you balance that? How do you find time?
It's really hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie. it's really, really difficult. I think you have to make it, the weekend time is precious. It's okay to stop working to be with your kids. It's okay to say, I'm going to respond to that email tomorrow in order to do homework with your children. And so I think you just have to learn to unplug a bit. And it's certainly okay to say, I am going to the school for the kids, Christmas performance. That's acceptable to say to someone, especially now. And don't feel guilty about it. And that's something I've had to learn in my career, but ultimately that's the way in which I find time to be with them, is to allocate it into my schedule. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put, like my kids have a dentist appointment. I want to take them. It's just, maybe I didn't get to take them the last time and then I want to be there. I put it on my calendar. I don't necessarily say it's a dentist appointment, but I just say personal meeting. You just got to kind of incorporate it into your normal schedule.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's time blocking, just like for anything else, you're going to time block for business, then you need to make sure you're blocking and protecting your time with your family too.
Yes.
Good. All right. So any final words for our business owner audience? You would give advice, investing, finance, balance, any other nuggets that you can think of to share?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I mean, I would say something that it took me a while to learn in my career was it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to not dress the way everyone else in the finance field dresses. It's okay to be your own person and not conform to the look of your industry. And I would say that is a really big piece of advice I wish someone would have gave me early in my career, that being yourself attracts different types of clients, and it attracts people that you want to work with. And so that is something that it took me a little while to learn, but I do think that just continuing to be yourself in really any field is very important.
Yeah.
I'd say in the finance world, be very, very careful when you're looking for finance advice or investment advice. Be careful to not just stumble upon someone that you Google. Ask around, ask for referrals. Don't just kind of go with the first person that you come across. I like to do the kind of the rule of three. Get 3 names, all 3 individuals. Figure out how they collect their fees, and if you're looking for kind of a retirement plan to establish, ask how many retirement plans they have, because you really sure that it's someone specialized in this field.
Yeah, looking for an expert. That's awesome. All right, so I have a fun question for you. If you could pick a superpower, what would it be and why?
It's funny. I knew you were going to ask me this question, and I actually thought about it probably way more than I should have. And I've heard some of your other guests' answers, and I got to be honest, I'm kind of going to be a little selfish on my response, because I think it's okay to be selfish every once in a while, right? I think I would. I also was thinking, like, do I want to fight crime? Like, what kind of superpower? So I keep coming back to time travel. And it is a little selfish, and it's not that I want to live in the past, but working moms tend to be going so fast that we really sometimes have to remind ourselves to stop and kind of be present in the moment. And I think that was something that I missed a lot. And so I'd love to go back and revisit certain moments that maybe I wasn't so present in and that I was too busy. And then, of course, it'd just be fun to revisit past events and then even future events. It'd just be a really fun thing to do, and obviously somewhat selfish, but I think that would be a pretty awesome power.
Yeah, I like that idea of going back and revisiting a memory and being able to just be in the moment during that memory. So that's a really good answer. So, Sarah, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so I work for an organization called Sage View Advisory. You can find me on their website. You can find me on LinkedIn under Sarah Parker, Sage View Advisory. And my email is sparker@sageviewadvisory.com. And I'm always happy to just chat and give advice and just things to think through for business owners. Always happy and welcome new connections in a network.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. I appreciate you letting me be a guest.
Yeah, that wraps up another episode of Empower Her Money. Make sure to reach out to Sarah for any questions on your benefits plan and making sure that you are always hiring an expert. So I love that too. Thanks again, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Empower Her Money podcast. Make sure you leave me a 5-star review, share this podcast, subscribe, and share the message.